Jovian, the 72nd emperor of Rome, had a brief and turbulent reign marked by military challenges and significant political decisions, despite his short tenure. He reigned from 363 to 364 AD, coming to power under dramatic circumstances following the death of the celebrated emperor Julian. Jovian was born into a Christian family and rose through the military ranks, gaining prominence as a soldier. His early career in the Roman army likely began before Julian's reign, and he eventually became a trusted officer. By the time of Julian's campaign against the Persian Empire, Jovian was a senior officer and was positioned in a high-ranking role within the army. Julian, who had been an intellectual and philosopher emperor, had a complex relationship with Christianity, often favoring paganism. However, during his reign, he was unable to completely suppress the Christian influence in the empire. Despite his personal beliefs, Julian was respected as a soldier and military leader. His ill-fated campaign against Persia in 363 AD was the backdrop against which Jovian's rise to power occurred. The pivotal event that marked Jovian's ascension to the imperial throne was the death of Emperor Julian. In 363 AD, Julian led a Roman military campaign into Persia, hoping to expand the Roman Empire's borders further eastward. However, the campaign quickly turned disastrous as Julian's army found itself besieged by the Persians in a harsh and hostile environment. Julian, gravely wounded by a spear in a skirmish, died from his injuries on June 26, 363. With Julian's death, the Roman army faced a leadership crisis, as there was no clear successor. The army's senior officers, seeking a new emperor to lead them in the face of looming defeat, turned to Jovian, who was considered a competent officer and someone who could rally the troops. Jovian was declared emperor by the army, marking the beginning of his short reign. Jovian's reign, though brief, was marked by important decisions that shaped the empire's future. Upon assuming power, Jovian inherited an empire in crisis. The Roman army, retreating from Persia, was in disarray. The Persians had successfully ambushed Julian's forces and inflicted heavy casualties, and the Roman retreat was further complicated by logistical problems, including lack of supplies and harsh weather conditions. Jovian's first significant act as emperor was to negotiate a peace treaty with the Persian Empire. Understanding that the Roman army was in no position to continue fighting, Jovian agreed to a humiliating peace with Shapur-Taut, the Persian king. The treaty, signed in 363, required Rome to cede several provinces, including Armenia and Mesopotamia, to Persia. While the peace agreement allowed Jovian to secure the withdrawal of Roman forces from Persia, it marked a major territorial loss for the Roman Empire. Despite this, the peace allowed Jovian to stabilize the situation and focus on internal affairs. Jovian's decision to make peace with Persia was controversial, and some historians argue that it damaged his reputation. However, others see it as a pragmatic move, given the circumstances in which he took power. Jovian's reign also had religious significance. Though Julian had been a strong advocate for paganism and had attempted to roll back Christian influence, Jovian was a devout Christian. Upon becoming emperor, he reversed many of Julian's policies, restoring Christianity to its favored status within the empire. Jovian reaffirmed the Nicene Creed, the Christian doctrine that had been endorsed at the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, and took steps to reinstate Christian bishops who had been exiled during Julian's rule. This shift in religious policy earned Jovian the favor of the Christian population, but angered the pagan aristocracy, who had supported Julian's efforts to revive traditional Roman religious practices. Jovian's religious stance would continue the trajectory toward Christianity becoming the dominant religion in the Roman Empire, although it would take several more decades before paganism was fully marginalized. Jovian's actions were consistent with the growing influence of Christianity at the time, as successive emperors, particularly Theodosius VI, would later adopt even more aggressive policies in favor of Christianity. Despite his efforts to stabilize the empire, Jovian's reign was plagued by internal challenges. The political situation in Rome was volatile, with factions within the army and the Senate often at odds. Jovian faced the daunting task of maintaining unity in a vast empire that was dealing with increasing pressures from both internal divisions and external enemies. The most significant challenge Jovian faced was the rebellion of his own officers and soldiers who were dissatisfied with the peace treaty with Persia and the emperor's policies. In the early months of 364 AD, while on a journey back to Rome, Jovian's health began to deteriorate. He suddenly died under mysterious circumstances, with some ancient sources claiming that he was poisoned, though the details of his death remain unclear. He was succeeded by Valentinian I, one of his generals. Jovian's reign was brief, but his decisions had a lasting impact on the Roman Empire. His peace treaty with Persia, though seen as a defeat, ultimately allowed the empire to recover from the disastrous Persian campaign and focus on its internal problems. His restoration of Christianity to a prominent position within the empire was a key step in the eventual triumph of Christianity over paganism in Roman life. Though Jovian's reign was short-lived, his actions set the stage for the later developments of the 4th century, including the rise of Christianity as the state religion under emperors like Theodosius. His death and the subsequent rise of Valentinian I marked the beginning of a new era in Roman politics, one in which the empire would increasingly focus on internal reform and defense against external threats, particularly from barbarian tribes along the borders. Jovian is often remembered as a pragmatic ruler who did what was necessary to stabilize the Roman Empire in a time of crisis. His policies, particularly in terms of religion, were in line with the broader trends of the late Roman Empire, as Christianity solidified its dominance in the empire. Despite the brevity of his reign, Jovian's role in shaping the Roman Empire during a critical period of transition should not be overlooked.